Hello and welcome to Postures and Pranayam. Today we are doing square breath. So for this practice you will need something to sit up on because we will be doing some seated practice. So I've got a meditation cushion. I would encourage you to have a chair as well, so you can try some of it sitting in a chair. To use a wall is useful too, to just check in with your posture. Be using the ground. You're going to need a slow-mo ball. It could be nice to check in and try with a bolster or some blocks as well. So we are going to begin by starting by doing 4-part breath, lying on your back on the ground. So with this breath, there are some contraindications because there is some breath retention. So if you have any health conditions that you know of where you can't have holding of your breath, then you would want to avoid this breath, or at least the retention part. You could keep the breath continuous, so rather than holding your breath. So the way square breath works is you breathe in, you pause, you hold your breath, you breathe out, you pause. So you can imagine it like a square. The benefits of this breath is it's very stabilizing. It calms your body and it helps to focus your mind. So we're going to check in with it first before we do any of the connective tissue practices, just to see how it feels without using any props. Although we're going to use the prop of the ground, that's using gravity. It's much easier to do these breath practices lying on your back than it is to do them sitting up. So keep in mind that you have that prop to support you and help you to begin. And we'll do it with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. You may even want to take your hands and place them on your belly to begin. We'll just take a normal breath in and a normal breath out. And then breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, 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 and one more time, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause. So just notice how that felt in your body. And now you're going to roll over onto your stomach and you're going to take your slow-mo ball. So you're going to take your slow-mo ball and you're going to place it underneath your stomach to begin. So you're probably wondering why we're doing this and why this works. So the balls, they help to restore the gliding surfaces among the interfaces of your muscles and their fascia. So that's your connective tissue. Self-myofascial massage plunges pressure and turbulence into the depths of the individual muscles and helps any adhesions that are commonplace when tissues are loaded with knots and trigger points. So while you're resting here, and you can just rest with your forehead on your hands here over the ball, we're going to use a technique here which is called squeeze and release. So you're just going to contract your muscles over this ball, and then you're going to relax them. And then do that again, contract them, and relax them. And then contract and relax. And just notice how you're able to drop over the ball a little bit more. And just rest over the ball here. Your muscles have become locked up because of stress, injury, or poor movement patterns that create an internal dam where nutrients are not delivered and waste products are not filtered out. This is why knots are tender to the touch on your muscles. Inflammations locked into the tissues irritate the nerve cells within the environment, causing pain. So self-myofascial massage restores correct fluid balance and perfusion to myofascial, so nutrients and waste are distributed efficiently. So now what you're going to do is you're just going to slowly roll your ball from side to side on your belly. And then take your ball on the right side of your belly, and you're going to roll your ball up and down the right side of your belly. And then take your ball over to the left side of your belly and roll your ball up and down the left side of your belly. And then take the ball into the center again and roll the ball vertically up and down, down to your pubic bone and up to the bottom of your rib cage. And then take a breath here. And allow your tissue to adapt. And then I'm going to get you to come back onto your back, and we're going to do I knew that was going to happen. I got mud all over my mat to begin with. You're going to try that 4-part breath again. So you're going to lie on your back with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor again, and you're just going to check in and notice if there's any difference for you in the feeling and quality of this 4-part breath for you now. So we're going to breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, and then go back to breathing normally. Now, when you do your 4-part breathing, make sure when you do the pauses that it's a really gentle pause. There's no gripping when you do the pauses. Okay, so now we're going to do the second part of the myofascial release. You're going to put the slow-mo ball underneath your chest. So you're going to come back to lying on your stomach. Take your slow-mo ball again. And you're going to place it. I'm going to take this off. Maybe I can't do that. Yeah, I'm connected to my mic here. Okay, so you're going to put this right underneath your breastbone. You're going to rest right over your ball like this and give your tissue a moment to adapt here. So just rest right over the ball. So self-myofascial Release, massage. Why does it work? Because it restores correct fluid balance and perfusion to myofascia, so nutrients and waste are distributed efficiently. It helps to heighten proprioception, and the friction created by their surface generates shear with the tissues, exciting specialized nerve cells that ultimately improve your body's neural mapping and cortical maps. Okay, so now you're going to move your slow-mo ball up and down along your breastbone. So the way I find it easiest to do this is to bring my hands up underneath my shoulders and to lift it down my breastbone, and then to lift my butt a little bit to move it up my breastbone. So kind of like you're doing that transition in sun salutations between maybe chaturanga, cobra, downward facing dog, upward facing dog, that transition. And then what I like to do is take the ball out underneath my right armpit and slide it to the side. And you're going to roll it underneath the space between your chest and your right armpit. So it's kind of between your torso and your arm, and you're rolling it horizontally between your arm and your torso. And then you're going to take it over to the other side so that you're rolling it in that space between your arm and your torso. So take your arm straight out to the side like a T, and then roll it in that space too. And then you can take your slow-mo ball and you can put it off to the side. And we're going to make our way up to seated, and we'll do the 4-part breath seated. Okay, so here you could either come and sit on a chair, or you can sit cross-legged. Sit with one leg in front of the other, and sink down through your sit bones. Lengthen up through your spine. Draw your head back over your rib cage. Let your elbows be heavy. Let your hands rest on your legs, and then close your eyes, and we're going to do 4-part breath again. And I want you to just see if your whole torso area has opened up at all anymore as a result of doing the connective tissue practice now through more of your torso. Okay, so we're going to breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause. Breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. Pause. Breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. Pause. Breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. Pause. Okay, so we are going to have to relocate away from a leaf blower. Okay, we found a new and hopefully quieter spot for you and us. And just check in now and see how that practice was different for you. Did you notice a difference now that you've massaged your connective tissue in your belly and your chest? And now we're going to do some myofascial release in your side ribs. So let me show you where that is before we do it. So it's going to be right underneath your armpit. So you're going to be lying on your side with a ball underneath your rib cage, and we're going to be rolling it up and down your rib cage like this here. So it's going to feel really nice, but we're going to do almost like a little side bend over your ball here to start, and then we'll do a little bit of rolling up and down the ball. Only it's going to be you moving over the ball, not the ball moving. Okay, so I'm actually going to take this big sweater off because we've also found a warmer spot here too. And you can get yourself set up on your ball. I'm going to start on my right side since that's the side where I can demonstrate this for you most effectively. So put your ball on the ground, and then you're going to lie down on the side of it like that. And just rest over it here. And then you're going to do a little bit of, and did I really determine I can't take this off? Yeah, it's really connected. Okay. We're going to go a little bit down and up. This is much easier to do on your hardwood floors, your flat surfaces on a ground. This is really quite challenging to do on uneven surfaces. You're able to roll a lot easier at home than on uneven surfaces outside. So I wouldn't recommend doing this outside unless you can do it on like your decks or things like that. I'm like losing my pants and everything here, Tim. Tim's not even connected to the audio anymore, so he doesn't even know. Okay, and then once you've done, you'll be getting more range of motion up and down your whole rib cage there at home. Once you've done that, you're going to go side to side so that it goes to the back and front of your ribs here as well. And then we'll take this to the other side. Okay, so you're going to imagine that my arm looks the exact same way on this side, with the arm straight overhead, only my arm doesn't do this on this side, so you're going to rest over the ball here to begin. Okay, so you're going to rest over the ball and give yourself time for the tissue to adapt. You're going to imagine that my arm's straight overhead like it was on the other side. And then just like we did on the other side, you're going to start moving the ball up and down the left side of your rib cage. So I'm going to try and do this on this side without my pants coming off. And then find a spot along your rib cage, and then you're going to roll forward and back a bit so that you can also get the tissue to the front and back of your rib cage as well. And then we're going to come back up to seated. Okay, so we're going to do the 4-part breath, square breath, seated again. So come to a comfortable seated position. You could sit in a chair. And we'll check in again with it and see how it's shifted and changed again now that you've done the connective tissue underneath your ribs, along your side ribs, your side body. So close your eyes, draw your head back over your shoulders. And we're going to breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. Pause. Breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. Pause. Breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. And pause. Great. So those connective tissue practices, they help to reduce pain, they improve your nutrient flow, and they improve your coordination. So just check in and notice if you, for me, after that time through, there was so much more ease, there was no more grippiness, there was no more tension in that breath at all. So we're going to do one more practice with the slow-mo ball for this one. And this time you're going to put it right in the middle of your back, between your shoulder blades. And you're going to lie down on it and rest on your back. And then you're just going to move it down and up a bit. And then you're going to take it side to side. Kind of over towards your shoulders. And then you're going to roll to your side. And come back up to seated. Okay, so you can put your slow-mo ball off to the side. We're done with that now. You're going to come to seated and check in on your square breath. And bring your hands to rest on your lap, your elbows heavy, your spine straight, your head over top of your shoulders. Close your eyes and breathe in. Pause. Breathe out. Pause. 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 And then go back to breathing normally and just check in and notice what the difference was for you that time after that last soft tissue practice for you. So for me, the difference was I could feel like more interconnection in my internally in my body, cellular communication. So it felt like my cells were actually receiving the oxygen that time in a really harmonic way. Okay, so we're going to do a crossover pattern in your body. So it's really important for you to do crossover patterns in your body. Every part of your body contains crossover patterns from the twisting ladders of your DNA embedded in each of your cells to the two hemispheres of your brain that control each side of your body. So when we do crossover patterns in your body, it helps you to coordinate your activities. It keeps your energy systems working together. And if your energy systems aren't crossing over, your body is at a deficit and it has to work harder. So if we're just doing a simple crossover pattern today, when you're sitting in easy pose, you're just going to take your left hand to the outside of your right knee. So there are tons and tons of crossover patterns that already exist in yoga. We don't have to go looking for any extra fancy ones. So I'm just doing a really simple one today. And you can start to become aware of all the crossover patterns that already exist in your yoga practice. And then you're going to come back to the center and take your right hand to the outside of your left knee. And then come back to the center. So I'm going to get you to lie down on your back now, like you did at the beginning. You can do it with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. An option would be to do this part lying over a bolster too. So let me show you those options. So you can either finish, and you're going to be doing 4-part breath here. You can either finish lying down on the ground with your legs long, or your knees bent, or if you have a bolster, I didn't bring my bolster with me today, but if you have a bolster, you could put your bolster underneath your chest and finish with your chest elevated and opened in a supported back bend here. So your choice for how you want to finish your 4-part breath, but it's going to be some kind of reclined version. And I'm going to get you doing 4-part breath as you receive the rest of the teachings on 4-part breath here to finish up. So I'll guide you through it to begin, and then you'll just continue the pattern as you listen to the teachings. So it's we're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. Okay? So it's breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause, breathe in, pause, breathe out, pause. So continue your square breath in your own breath rhythm. You can continue to do it for counts of 4. You could, if you're finding that hard to sustain, you can drop it down to counts of 2 or 3, or if you want to extend it to counts of 5 or 6. Just continue the practice at a pace that works for you and your body today. So, as you are doing this breath practice here, allow yourself to focus in around your belly physically, your diaphragm, that space between at the base of your rib cage. The diaphragm lowers when you breathe in and it goes back up when you breathe out. and in your heart center. When you breathe, notice what's been happening with your energy over the course of this class. Also, your feelings. This breath practice tends to have a very calming effect. Notice if that's been true for you. Notice if your thoughts have been calmed. We tend to have a ton of thoughts either about the past or the future. Notice if that kind of constant monkey mind has been sedated at all by this breath practice. Also be aware what's happened to your spirit as a result of this breath practice. This breath practice is good for pittas. Pittas tend to be fiery, so this is a nice calming breath practice for them. Also a good breath practice for Vatas because they tend to be more anxious, so nice calming practice for them. I would connect this breath practice with the heart and small intestine meridians in traditional Chinese medicine. When our heart energy is healthy, we feel nourished and able to connect with our inner peace and harmony. Our heart energy is related to our ability to connect with our vital center and our spirit. And our small intestine energy allows us to experience and draw in what is meaningful for us in life. And so to me, the square breath is all about that. It's about you inhale, you draw it in, and then you sustain it. And exhale, you release what's not serving you in this breath. This breath is a very full, rounded breath. It's all about that nourishment, that connection, that inner peace and harmony. As far as the Hindu deities, gods and goddesses, I would connect this breath with the sustaining deities, Lakshmi and Vishnu, because it is all about harmony, balance, and nurturing. Lakshmi and Vishnu are the ultimate sustainers, just like this breath practice. So they will sustain you materially, emotionally, mentally, and energetically, and spiritually. And I think this breath practice does that as well. This breath practice, as all breath practices are centered in the heart chakra. This heart chakra has the element associated with it is air, and so to me, all breath practices are associated with the heart chakra. So in terms of archetypes and their shadow side, this breath practice reminds me of the compassionate, loving, balanced, peaceful person who is at ease and peace with themselves and others. The kind of person who is harmoniously balanced and lives fully connected with themselves and others. Archetypes of this kind to me would be somebody like Jack Kornfield and Thich Nhat Hanh. Ram Dass, too, would be another person like that. To me, they accept themselves and others fully, and they know they are worthy of love. The shadow side of this archetype is the actor. They play at being loving, and they act as though everything is peaceful, but in truth, they keep people at a distance, and they don't expose their vulnerability. So they put on a good face, but it's not necessarily the truth of their life. So to me, politicians, some TV evangelists from the 80s, you can probably remember back to that, could be examples of this archetype. The moon phases related to this breath practice, to me, all the moon phases would be included in this because the waxing moon, the full moon, the waning moon, and the dark moon, the new moon. So depending on where you are in the part of the square. So the new moon would be the inhalation, the full moon would be the suspension of the breath, the exhalation would be the waxing moon, and then the pause at the end would be the dark moon. So to me, this breath is all the phases of the moon. Here are your quotes from the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita. The Yoga Sutra says, this is from chapter 1, verse 3, united in the heart, consciousness is steadied, and we abide in our true nature, joy. And the Bhagavad Gita, this is from chapter 2, verse 49 to 50. Seek refuge in the attitude of detachment, and you will amass the wealth of spiritual awareness. Those who are motivated only by the fruits of their actions are miserable, for they are consciously anxious about the results of what they do. When consciousness is unified, however, all vain anxiety is left behind. There is no cause for worry, whether things will go well or ill. Okay, so finish your wherever you are in the square. And then pause and reflect on your experience of this class of square breath and just notice what stands out for you. What had the most impact on your experience of square breath in this class? And what's one small thing that you're going to take away with you from your experience of this class, off your mat and into the world this week? So gradually allow your breath to deepen. Bend your knees. Roll to your right side. And slowly make your way up to seated. Thank you so much for joining me for the square breath practice of postures and pranayama. I would love to hear your comments about what you are taking with you off the mat and into the world. What stood out to you about this practice? I love hearing your comments about your practice, so please leave them on the membership site. It's great to have discussions about this class, these classes that we're building in our library. So I look forward to talking to you about this, our first breath class in the Postures and Pranayama library. Thanks so much for joining me. Namaste.
Melissa would love to hear your questions and thoughts. Please leave your comments below the video. Thank you for your reviews on iTunes and YouTube. Your